And I know I say MAFEX for the name of the line, and I think deep down, hell, not even deep down, I know it's wrong. But when I first started reviewing imports, I had no clue how to say it, so I did what anybody else would do, went out into the internet to see how everybody else said it. And I guess the first couple I ran across, they said MAFEX, so I went with it. Because technically, MAFEX stands for Miracle Action Figure EX. Miracle Action Figure. Action. Maction. MAFEX. So, in my brain, I think it should be MAFEX. But I can't make myself say it that way. It just sounds wrong, even though I know it's right. Or it should be right. Other people say it different ways. I'm just old, I guess. I'm set in my ways. I have enough trouble with English as it is. Bringing in, made-up words from companies is bad enough. It's like my dear old granny used to say, let's go down to the McDonald's, and then after that we can stop by the Walmarts. It's just one of those things. It's ingrained now. Okay people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight I'm taking a look at the Medicom MAFEX number 49 Dark Knight Trilogy Batman Begins Batman suit. Now I've been looking forward to this only because it seems like MAFEX has turned over a new leaf. They're not so QC ridden as they have been in the past. And that's when they released their original Batman figures. I think they released a Joker. Actually, I just opened the bank robber Joker. I don't remember which Batman they released, but from what I've heard from other people, they were a little bit fiddly, a little bit floppy, fall apart maybe. But I'm hoping this is a new chapter, and it all begins with this figure. This figure's quality determines whether or not I will be buying 6, 7 more figures here in the near future. Looking at the package, it's what we're used to with MAFEX. Kind of a plain background, some graphics around, nice big window to show you everything. On the side, we get a promotional picture of the figure. On the back, more pretty promotional shots and everything that comes with the figure, some poses. And then we have some unreadables, some warnings, probably says something like, final product may not match the promotional pictures, which looking in the package, you can already see that the detailing is a little bit soft compared to the original prototype. But again, it's Medicom. That's what we've come to expect there. On the other side, logos, another promotional shot. Top, same thing. Bottom, way more unreadables, legalese, everything else. But I'm going to get this open and see if I'm going to be spending a lot more money here in the near future, which it's already too late. My Catwoman 2.0 has shipped. There's nothing I can do about that now. And there we go, all out of the package. And for such a kind of simplistic figure, there's a lot of overcomplication going on. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I do. Looking at the sculpt, this is what I mean by simple. And I don't mean simple as in they took shortcuts from the movie design. It's just that the movie design is kind of smooth with some, tech details here and there, but not really a lot of it. So it looks good based on the movie design. It's just a simple design. But I feel like, without, going back and forth with a movie still or anything, that they nailed it here. Yes, it's smooth in parts, but you get to the boots, you get to the kneecaps, it's got nice little detail to it. On the chest, on the abs, it has the grooves where they need to be, the bat design on the chest. The gloves have the raised detail on the top and bottom. And the belt being a separate piece, while frustrating, and we'll get to that here in a second, it helps with the detail and the paint there. There's no slop coming off onto the black or anything. It's its own separate entity. The whole thing is matte black, which is very eye-catching. I kind of expected more of a sheen to it, but it being this flat completely works for me. But they did add a little bit of gloss to the gauntlets and maybe the boots. Not as much on the boots, but they're just slightly different from the rest of the body. And then we get to the head. Very Batman Begins. It looks like he's suffocating inside his own face, for lack of a better description there. You can tell that there's not a lot of movement to the neck, which is accurate to the movie. But Medicom is still struggling with their face print tech, paints, whatever they're doing here. The lips are a different color, but it's very jarring from skin to lip. It's like, oh, bam, right into the lip. And then the eyes are just a simple dot. There's no extra detail to those. But they went right along with the movie design with the cowl in not allowing a lot of neck movement. Now you can kind of see that there's a seam right here going from helmet or top of cowl to the neck part of it. And that's because they did make this a little bit rubbery to get out of the way if you wanted some movement. But it's really restrictive, which in the movie you're used to, well, it wasn't quite Keaton, but you're used to kind of a, turn the whole body to look around type situation. But he can turn, he can look down a little bit. You can see the flexy material right there at the neck flexing. And when you go back up, it'll be gappy for a minute until the material settles back down. But it does allow for as much as possible given the design from the movie. I really like the soles of the boots. Lots of nice detail there. It's got a combat type sole there. And like I mentioned, the belt is a separate piece, so it's nice and crisp in its sculpt. It's not molded to the thing, but I almost wish it was molded to the crotch piece. There's no reason other than paint and sculpt for it to be separate. It doesn't get in the way whenever you crunch here or go side to side, wherever you want to go. As is, when you're posing and stuff, it likes to fly up, fly around, kind of get in the way more than if it were part of that piece down here. So I half love it, half hate it, depending on what I'm trying to do at the moment. And then one more thing I'm going to gripe about, and I've run into this with some SH Figure Arts, I run into this with a little bit of MAFEX, and that is lining up the body straight. And you know what I'm talking about. It's when you're standing the legs straight, and then the abs kick one way, and the chest kicks the other, and then the neck is straight up and down. So when you think he's straight, you stand him up, and he's actually in a hip out pose. And getting that straight is kind of a pain in the ass. It's very tight at the waist, the ball joint is, and then once you think you have the abs straight, and this is, okay, I say you. Some other people may not have this problem. It may not bother some other people, but it bothers me that I can't get it straight for some reason. I get close, but then I feel like it goes the other way, and then I have to fidget around. It's my own OCD thing going on. But going over articulation, there's a ball going up into the neck, out of the chest. You can get a little bit of down, not a lot of up, some side, a little bit of tilt, a little bit of tilt. Not really bad for what the cowl looks like. There's a dumbbell joint going into the torso, out to the shoulder, so you can get up, you can get down, you can get forward, you can get back, and then it goes out to a hinge in the shoulder that goes up to about right there. And then of course it swivels around. There's a bicep. There's a bicep at the swivel. There's a swivel at the bicep, and the bicep is a separate piece with an articulation skeleton underneath it. You can see that the bicep is a little bit loose without moving the arm. Double elbow, but it only comes up to about right there. I feel like they could have, well, I'll just pull the hand off. I feel like they could have cut out a little bit more from the forearm to allow it to come up a little bit more, but it's almost that same restriction that we see in the movie. He's in a rubber suit with a rubber neck piece. Yeah, he can't move the head as much, maybe he can't move the arms as much. There's a swivel hinge swivel at the wrist. You can get up and down. If you bring it off the peg just a little bit, you get more range of movement. Then there's swivel. It's easier to take it off the peg, put the hand back on, and then you can have in and out motion too. There's a ball joint in the mid-torso and at the bottom at the waist, so you can get forward here, back, side, and then same movement there. So together you get a huge range of movement there. There's a ball joint coming out to the hip, and that also has a drop down motion to it, so you can get forward, you can get back, out not so much. The leg kind of runs into the hip part. Put that back up. You also have rotation there. Double knee comes up to about right there. There's a swivel hinge swivel in the ankle, so you can get rotation, you get back, you get forward, you get rocker ankle action on a forward facing pin, and then a toe joint goes up to about right there. For accessories, Batman comes with 2 fists. He comes with 2 relaxed open hands. He comes with 2 batarang gripping hands, and then he comes with a set of trigger fingers for the grapnel gun. And like I showed a minute ago, switching them out, not too bad. There's not a mushroom to the peg, so it just slips on with friction. I haven't had well, except for when I pulled it off a minute ago, and that was me actually pulling it off. But putting on other hands, not a problem at all. Except for one hand. The left batarang gripping hand, it does not want to go on the peg at all. So it seems like the hole is a little bit small, but the rest of the hands, they slide on pretty good. Some are tighter than others, but what you gonna do? Now speaking of batarangs, he comes with 3 of them, and man, they are tiny. Now they're only sculpted on one side, they're flat on the other, so if you put it down on the table, flat side down, you almost have to have a pair of tweezers or something sharp to kind of pop it up and grab it, because, well, at least I have a super problem trying to get it off the table. And don't drop them in the carpet because, well, they're not as small as like lightsaber pommels, but they're pretty tiny. And to put that in the hand, you just have to find that sweet spot between thumb and forefinger, and he holds it not bad, but I don't think I'll put it on the shelf like this in case of tippage. And then he comes with his grappling gun, or his grapnel gun. A nice little sculpt to this. I like all the little detail, and they did a great job of the separate paint colors. And that goes into the, of course, the trigger finger hand. It's easy to put in there, get on there, rotate in, and and putting it in a firing position isn't a problem at all. And then Batman comes with an unmasked Bruce Wayne head, and I feel like the sculpt is mostly there. It's just muddled. It's just muddied by the paint job or the print job on top of it. It just doesn't look like Bruce Wayne. And we've been seeing this with Medicom. It's a little bit soft. It's not as detailed as it could be. And then to go along with that, he has an alternate chest piece without the Bat logo on it. And to switch that out, you just pop the Batman head off. It's just on a ball joint. Actually, now that I look at it, there's a ball joint up at the top of the neck too. Down at the bottom, up at the top. So there is some extra movement there. It's just restricted by the cowl. This is the part that kind of surprised me. The cape with the wire in it is attached to this chest piece, which it should be. It's just how great this actually works. I thought 2 magnets and a peg, there's no way this is going to be stable. But I have not had one problem with this coming off as I'm posing the cape. So it's a nice, tight, secure fit. You put on this chest piece, actually it pulls itself to the chest. Yeah, if you really look for it, you can see the seam, but if you didn't know that came off, you wouldn't think it would, you know. It's a nice fit. And then here comes probably my worst experience is getting this head on here. It is super tight, and earlier, the first time I did that, I had to actually heat up the neck and put it on there, and I guess I left it on there long enough for it to cool with the hole expanded a little bit. But even then, it was really tight to get on again. But putting it on there doesn't look bad at all. It works. You have the nice neck here, and actually you have the option for more dynamic poses because of the increased range of movement in the neck here. Then switching it back, you just pop that off. You pop this on, no problem whatsoever. And then that just pops right back on. And then finally, it's, well, I call it an accessory since it can come off now, but the wire cape itself. I didn't like the wire cape that came on the SH Figure Arts figure. Here, it's not so bad. The wire is so thin, it's easy to manipulate. You can bring it down on the shoulder, and it looks, you know, natural laying there. It's not poofed up, sticking up, being obnoxiously over the shoulder and kind of drawing attention to it. This cape gets out of the way. It is super long though. It comes down way past the feet. So when you pose it, you got to kind of, you know, drape them out and then get him in the pose. But it makes for some really dynamic posing because of how long it actually is. And when you do get it on the ground right, it has the nice points like Batman's supposed to have. You can bring it around, bring it down, and it looks good this way too. You got to mess with it, of course, you got to work at it, but having it over the shoulder works just as well as any other way too. I have found if you want to bring the cape in a little bit, if you put the wires straight down his back and then kind of overlay the back of it, it lays even more natural that way. It's always going to stick out a bit because it's cloth with a wire in it, but you can get it down further than you can with the Figure Arts, I feel like. But speaking of the Figure Arts, here's a comparison with the SH Figure Arts Dark Knight Rises, I believe, Batman. And look at the size. There's hardly any difference between the two. Usually MAFEX, and MAFEX, usually the Medicom figures are bigger than SH Figure Arts figures. But in the case of the Batman figures, it seems like Figure Arts scaled up a bit. So if you want the Figure Arts Batman to go with some of the future MAFEX Batman villains, Joker, Bane, Scarecrow, whatever, I think it'll fit together nicely. But just remember there's also a Dark Knight 3.0 Batman coming, so we have plenty of choices when it comes to the Dark Knight. Here it is with the Mattel Movie Master Joker. With a repainted face. I couldn't stand the original paint job on it. I can't find any of my other Movie Master figures. They're in a tub somewhere. But this will give you an idea how the Medicom figure measures up with it. This Batman inspired me to finally go back and open up the MAFEX Bank Robber Joker, which out of the package I really like. Some loose joints, but it's a dynamic figure. But here's a size comparison with that. I feel like this Joker is either a little large or the Batman's a little small. I picture Batman being bigger. And then as far as I can tell, the Suicide Squad MAFEX figures are larger than other MAFEX figures. Medicom's kind of weird when it comes to that. They just go wherever they want. But it's still hard to beat the SH Figure Arts Suicide Squad Harley Quinn. So at the end of the day, this figure makes me want to spend more money. Damn it. There's some overcomplication going on here, but I can't deny just how awesome the figure itself is. Overcomplicated simplification, or simplified overcomplication. It just tips to both sides of the scale. Yes, there are a couple things that annoy me as I'm trying to play with it, but once I hit that pose and get all those annoyances out of the way, it makes for a great figure. The cape is really dynamic while being easy to manipulate. The figure itself is awkward, but I feel like it's supposed to be awkward. It's that suit. The suit is so awkward that in the next movie, he said, we're going to have to do something about this suit. Completely works in that aspect. So that doesn't bother me for whatever reason. I almost feel like the articulation hindrances in the figure, the cape compensates for that. What the figure can't do, the cape kind of fakes and then hides within the blackness of it. Does that make sense? I don't know where I'm going here, really. I'm trying to over-explain a simple description of a figure. But it does give me high hopes for the other figures coming. Like I said, Catwoman 2.0 is already on its way. It should be here at the end of the week. I'm excited about that, even though I never got 1.0. So I don't know if that was bad or not. I just remember thinking, that looks like basketball skin on the outside of her uniform. This next one looks a lot better, looks more human-like overall. And then, of course, the rest of the figures coming. Medicom's going all out with the Joker 2.0, the Bane, the Scarecrow, the Joker in police uniform. I think there's a couple more that I'm missing. But because of the quality of this figure, I'm keeping my pre-orders. You know I already had the pre-orders in, but I would have totally canceled them if this had been a C-3PO or a Superman, where it falls apart in my hand or it's difficult to the point of throwing it through a window. It's not like that at all. I'm happy to have this. In fact, I like this better than the SH Figure Arts Batman. I can't wait for the MAFEX 3.0. I'm gonna have to clear another shelf. Yeah, because I have so much room. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.